all the long way from the first copy, released in 1951, and until the latest generation of Nissan Patrol, the features that seemed unshakable accompanied frame, part-time, axles, lowering, as well as reliability, endurance, indestructibility. With the advent of the Y62, the foundations shook, but, fortunately, not all and not too much. And even though we will no longer meet the 6th generation on the Rybaki Peninsula, it still appears infrequently on the car service lift. Of course, it's good that the legend has not become a myth, although some questions about the reliability of the Patrol remain, which, however, has always been the case. No, the Nissan Patrol Y62, fortunately, did not lose its frame, but the suspension became completely independent, although it was quite long-stroke. And the drive from the classic part-time turned into an automatic AWD/TOD with the transfer of momentum forward as the wheels slip or under the influence of other factors. Inline motors went into oblivion along with warping heads and burnt blocks. Their place was taken by V-shaped, more and more 8-cylinder. The salon stopped crushing tall pilots and passengers with the ceiling, and even Toyota 200 envied its volume, which never happened before. The place of the first presentation of the Y62 clearly hinted at the main market, Abu Dhabi. Now the Middle East is storming inside and out, and then the world, in this case, the Arab world, wanted to cheerfully ride along 100-meter dunes, having eaten what is not forbidden. The 5.6-liter V8 engine was perfect for this. Bridges on the sand are only to the detriment, lowering is often the same, but a comfortable suspension and general comfort in the cabin are what you need. And then experts pulled themselves up from all the sofas, and it turned out that Patrol was not losing ground. And although it has become a little plastic, it behaves excellently off-road, not disgracing the name of its ancestors. Particularly interesting was the position of that part of Toyota fans who, seeing the Land Cruiser 200, disappointedly murmured something like, "For some kind of shawarma, let's go to Nissan," but in the end they got shawarma number 2. You know, I don't like to argue about design, as they say, who is the pop and who is the daughter of the priest, especially since Nissan also has the Infiniti QX. It won't be remembered by the night. I remember how in 2011 they called me to the editorial office with the question. They say, "You don't know where to buy the previous Y61, otherwise the new one is somehow not very." A large SUV of any class must certainly carry a V8. The Americans have been teaching this planet for 300 years, and the planet has just realized this. Without these 400 horsepower and 560 Newton meters, the new Patrol would be like the old one, a car for those who are late to live. A 7-speed automatic, neither more nor less, just right. In Russia, the gasoline engine, contrary to the forecasts of marketers, was not at the peak of popularity, which is not surprising, if we recall all these ghost crises. And there was no diesel. A Patrol Y62 with a 4.0-liter V6 engine is sold here and there, but I have only heard about this. Our current VK56 VD sins with a weak timing drive and problems with the fuel system. The key to its long life can be described in one phrase: good oil, good gasoline. The engine is equipped with a DIG direct fuel injection system, as well as a VVEL timing and valve lift control system, which did not really help him in terms of fuel consumption. For example, I managed to maintain 17.6 liters per 100 only when I was driving without touching the gas pedal at all, overtaken by Oka and some student on a scooter. The student was the last straw, and, touching the pedal, I instantly raised the consumption to 25 L/100 kilometers in mixed mode, but still overtook the impudent woman with the scarf around her neck. The timing chain, or rather the entire mechanism, can interrupt the triumphal race, since it will have to be changed entirely, but the chain will be to blame, namely, the camshaft drive on the right side. The problem occurs in the widest range of mileage from 50 to 150,000 kilometers and quite often. Since the engine is equipped with the common rail system, it has a high-pressure fuel pump, injection pump. So, the high-pressure fuel pump drive is wound up just on the timing chain stream going to the right cylinder block. There are only 2 chains. The pump is a loaded unit, and the right chain stretches faster, even faster than the manufacturer and owner expect. Stretched out, she begins to saw herself, touching the metal of the motor in the area of the dampers, and this is the sound that is heard from under the hood. As if there is a small Bulgarian sitting there with a big Bulgarian. After restyling in 2014, the unit was modernized, and now it is not necessary to lay out 150,000 rubles for repairs. It would seem that live and rejoice, but the loader of the high-pressure fuel pump chain felt offended, and by 100,000 runs, or even by half of the specified period, he contributes to the chronicle of failures. I mean the infamous pump rod. Disputes did not subside for a long time, which leads to the destruction of the stock. And they found shavings in it, and traces of contact with the drive, and even with the bottom of the well. But this is not important, but the fact that a new and original high-pressure fuel pump will cost at least $1,000. Refurbished can cost 3 times less, but the guarantee for it is only from the seller. And also, if you change it from the officials, then a preventive replacement of the timing drive will follow, which will double the cost of repairs, bringing it to the level, I will never buy petrol again. Catalysts can be killed with a tank of low-quality gasoline, and this is another 40,000 rubles to the current account. If you try to save money and do nothing, you can get into the overhaul of the motor due to the destruction of honeycombs. All sorts of little things, such as a cracking washer reservoir and a wedge electric fan clutch, against this background, cannot be mentioned. The shaking of the car at idle, and especially during smooth acceleration, informs the driver about problems in the torque converter. This is the main and perhaps the only problem with the 7-speed transmission of the Nissan Patrol Y62. The solution is inexpensive, diagnostics costs $200 and repairs are about the same. The manufacturer knows about the problem and after restyling it solved it by increasing the throughput of the hydraulic connections of the box. Theoretically, this box is prone to overheating, but if, contrary to the service book, you change the oil in it at least once every 60,000 and do not drive faster than 150 km/h for a long time, then everything will be in order. Overheating at high speed is characterized by the fact that the transmission does not want to switch down for some time, which is software protection against damage. As in the previous Patrol, the chassis is extremely reliable. Despite automatic 4-wheel drive, system failures are almost never encountered. There are no problems with the souring of the rear differential lock, or the servo for turning on the reduced range of the transfer case. In general, there are no obvious systemic problems at all, and the natural wear of the nodes begins at 150 to 200,000 mileage and is quite predictable. Initially, the independent suspension of the new Patrol caused furious indignation among the fans of the brand. At one time, a similar reaction was provoked by the rejection of springs, and before that, something else, for sure, caused dissatisfaction with the owners of one of the previous versions. New is not always welcome, even if it is not so new. Nevertheless, despite some problems, the Patrol Y62's fully independent suspension has demonstrated its viability and right to exist. Yes, and these problems were associated not so much with the suspension itself, but with additional equipment. The new Patrol is the first SUV to feature the HBSC system. This device, consisting of suspension dampers and hydraulic accumulators, is designed to combat roll in corners and at the same time improve articulation in off-road conditions. The system is hydraulic, therefore, losing oil, it can work a little worse. About the same as a normal shock absorber. First, the body roll will increase, after which the roll will be supplemented by a slow return to the vertical position and a buildup will appear when shifting to the other side with active maneuvering. In the end, the body will begin to sway from the slightest movement of the steering wheel, both across and along. But, as the servicemen assure, no one has ever reached this before. The machine is heavy, tall, and even a slight weakening of the system becomes very noticeable. Rarely, a drop in pressure in the HBSC was accompanied by a tapping of who knows what. After the repair, the knock, like the rolls, disappear. One more knock can make you nervous, the steering shaft. Treated with a $200 replacement and can reappear for no apparent reason. However, the malfunction does not affect traffic safety. After restyling in 2013, most of these problems were corrected, and the Nissan Patrol gained a second youth. Now, in order to catch up with its predecessors in popularity, it lacks only one thing, a diesel engine. Apart from the fact that in the summer of 2017 it was removed from sales in Russia.